Hello, and welcome to the Paraeducator course. This is the first of 3 videos in a series that are designed to cover Standard 4, addressing emotional and behavioral concerns. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself and my co-presenter. My name is Ann Britt, and I have worked for Keystone in a variety of roles, including school social worker, for the past 17 years. My co-presenter, Dee Blanchard, is the Learning Supports Consultant for Keystone and has worked for Keystone for the past 16 years. We will be your presenters for all 3 videos that encompass Standard 4, emotional, and behavioral. The purpose of the video series is to provide content in the area of Standard 4 of the Generalist Online course, Emotional and Behavioral. The content is provided by the Department of Education and meets the criteria they have set forth. Keystone is providing the content via 3 video sessions and 1 live Zoom meeting. This Zoom meeting will be held in April. The intended audience for this video series is paraeducators who are getting their Paraeducator Generalist certification or getting recertification credit. So just a little bit of general information about the video series. This is the first of 3. Video 2 will be available after January 15th, 2016. And video 3 will be available after February 15th, 2016. The final session will be a live Zoom session. You can participate either on Tuesday, April 12th, starting at 4 o'clock, or on Thursday, April 14th, starting at 4:30. You have 2 different options for attendance. You may either attend in person at Keystone AEA in Elkader or attend remotely via Zoom. The Zoom link will be posted on Keystone's Paraeducator website under upcoming classes at a later time. There will be more information about this in the future videos. Next, I will provide some general information on how all of the video series are structured. The assignments will be in the form of journal activities. Each video series will have journal activity slides that are denoted by a notebook icon in the upper left-hand corner. The journal activities are aligned with the content of each video series. For those of you who are taking the course for Generalist certification, the journal activities as described in the videos will be completed in the Moodle. Additional guidance will be provided for how to complete these on the Moodle site. If you are taking the course for recertification credit, the journal activities are your reflection paper. If you are taking this for recertification credit, please send your completed journal activities to Glenda Succo at the Ullwine Field Office. Assignments can be sent to Glenda either electronically to the email address listed here, or a hard copy may be sent to Glenda via van mail at the Ullwine Field Office, Route 7. Now we are ready to begin talking about Standard 4. As an overview, Standard 4 contains 7 different competencies. Each competency will be addressed during the video series. With each competency, there are 3 to 6 objectives. Video series 1 will cover competencies 5, 1, and 2 in that order. Competency 5 of Standard 4 states the following. Under the supervision of a licensed educational professional, the paraeducator will recognize that there is a cause or reason for misbehavior and assist in determining the cause or reason. Competency 5 has 6 learning objectives. The first objective is to understand that behavior is learned and serves a purpose. Objective 2, to understand terms and definitions. Objective 3, to understand the types of functions. Objective 4, to be able to operationally define behavior. Objective 5, to understand the connection between function and communication, which we call the ABCs of behavior. And Objective 6, to learn and understand the impact of positive and negative reinforcement. Before we begin with the content, I'd like to share a video by comedian and educator Kim Coleman. I think we can all relate to the kind of day she describes.
I used to teach school. Any teachers in here? Yeah? I started back a long time ago when capital punishment, corporal punishment. Honey, sometimes you want to go there, let me tell you. When capital, corporal punishment was still allowed. And they came up to me and they said, Kim, we want you to come witness a paddling. And I said, oh no, I can't do that. Not those sweet little innocent darlings. At the end of the year, I was going, give me the paddle. Come on. Make my day. I had some kids that would just try you to death. I had a kid named Patience and she took mine. Yes. I feel your pain, sweetie. I had a kid named Precious and she wasn't. I had kids with all sorts of names, but I had a kid, I am not making this up, ladies. I had a kid named Jesus Christ in my class. I did. Have you ever tried to punish a kid whose name is Jesus Christ? He got in trouble and I'm going, Jesus, you need to stop that. Jesus, listen, JC. As you were. Mercy. But I started thinking about it. Back in biblical days, those names were very unusual. I have a hard time pronouncing those names sometimes, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, Mephibosheth. Say that one 3 times real fast, okay? Can you imagine the teacher calling the roll, okay? Shadrach, here. Meshach, here. Abednego, here. Dorcas, here. You translate that means Tabitha. It is very pretty. Mephibosheth, here. Wait a minute, what? David.
The lens with which we view behavior is based on a functional approach. B.F. Skinner was an influential psychologist of the 20th century. He coined the phrase operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a form of learning where an individual changes their behavior because of the results of the behavior. The premise of operant conditioning is behavior is influenced by the consequences that follow. When you are reinforced for doing something, you are more likely to do it again. An example would be kids doing chores for an allowance. The behavior is the chores. The consequence is earning an allowance. The other side of this is when you are punished for doing something, you are less likely to do it again. A great example here is getting a speeding ticket. The consequence of speeding, which is the behavior, is having to pay a fine. So you are less likely to speed if you don't want to pay a speeding ticket. The next video clip provides a humorous but theoretically sound example of operant conditioning. As you are watching the video clip, ask yourself, when does Penny get a piece of chocolate from Sheldon?
Fine, whatever. Are you finished?
Well, thank you. How thoughtful. Would you like a chocolate?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Oh, sorry, Sheldon. I almost sat in your spot.
Did you? I didn't notice. Have a chocolate.
Thank you. What's this cartoon called again?
Oshikuru Demon Samurai.
It's not a cartoon. It's anime.
Anime. You know, I knew a girl in high school named Anime. Anime Fletcher. She was born with one nostril. Then she had this bad nose job and basically wound up with 3.
You're here a lot now.
Oh, am I talking too much? I'm sorry.
Thank you. Chocolate?
Yes, please. Oh, hey, Kim. Yeah, you know what? Hold on. Let me take this in the hall. You'll never guess who they got to replace you.
Okay. I know what you're doing.
Really?
Yes. You're using chocolates as positive reinforcement for what you consider correct behavior.
Very good. Chocolate?
No, I don't
All right. Well, if your answer to the question, when does Penny get a piece of chocolate from Sheldon, was anytime she did something that was acceptable to Sheldon, you are correct. Penny learned that anytime she changed her behavior to behavior that was acceptable to Sheldon, she got a piece of chocolate. She changed her behavior. The result was getting chocolate. Another way to look at this is the consequences of an act affect the probability of its occurring again. Next, we will discuss some important things that we know about behavior. The following things provide the framework for how we address behavior when it is inappropriate or challenging. The first thing we need to know about behavior is that it is learned and serves a specific purpose. The challenge is to figure out what the purpose is for each individual student. By figuring out the purpose, we can then take steps to teaching or rewarding more appropriate behaviors that serve the same purpose. The second thing we need to know about behavior is that behavior is a very efficient way for students to communicate. If Susie doesn't like to sit next to Johnny at the carpet, she may push Johnny away. As a consequence, Susie is removed from the carpet and asked to sit at her desk. For Susie, this can be a very quick and efficient way of getting away from Johnny. This example looks different at the high school level, but the function remains the same. Susie really doesn't like her government class. She may walk into class, throw her books down at the desk, and swear loudly. As a result of her swearing, the teacher kicks her out of class before it even begins. For Susie, swearing loudly in class is a very efficient way of getting kicked out of a class she doesn't like. The third thing we need to know about behavior is critical. Almost all behavior falls into two categories: to get or access something or someone, or to escape from something or someone. We often refer to this as the function of a student's behavior. Let's look at these functions in more detail. We use the word access when we describe a student's efforts to try and get something. They may be trying to access attention, tangibles, or sensory input. A student might want to get attention from their peers and will be the class clown in order to do so. They might want attention from an adult and will raise their hand so insistently that the teacher calls on them. Students may also try to access favorite items as well. We refer to these things or items as tangibles. Tangibles can range from an iPad to food to a favorite toy. And lastly, students may try to access sensory input. Examples of sensory input include wrapping a soft, fuzzy blanket around ourselves or chewing gum. We use the word escape to describe a student's efforts to get out of something. In the school setting, escaping work or tasks a student does not want to do is a common form of escape. However, there are other things that a student may try to escape from, including attention from peers or adults, pain, or being on sensory overload. A very important thing to understand about behavior is this: our reaction determines whether a behavior will happen again or not. To change a child's behavior, we have to change how we respond to the behavior. If we respond the same way each time a child engages in challenging behavior, it is likely we are reinforcing the behavior. In order to change a child's behavior, we need to change the way we respond. We can only control our behavior and responses. The last thing that is important to know about behavior is this: behavior is related to the context within which it occurs. Think about these two different settings, a classroom and a football stadium. Screaming at the top of your lungs, "Go team," is acceptable behavior if you are at a football game and your team just scored a touchdown. Screaming at the top of your lungs, "Go team," if you are in a classroom and the teacher is providing instruction at the front of the class, is not acceptable behavior. In these examples, behavior remains the same. However, whether the behavior is acceptable or not depends on the context or setting in which it occurs. Earlier, I mentioned the term function of behavior. On slide 16, we stated that behavior is learned and serves a purpose. People learn that they can get things they like when they behave in a certain way. We define function of behavior as the purpose of why a student behaves the way they do. One way of starting to think in a more functional manner regarding kids' behavior is to ask yourself the question: what is the student trying to escape or access with their behavior? If we can think about behavior in this manner, we can sometimes determine the reason for a student's behavior and answer the question. View the following video clip and answer the question: is the function of this child's behavior escape or access? Escape from what or access from what? your answer to the question, is the toddler trying to access the attention of the person who is videotaping, you got it right. Let's dig a little deeper into functions, what they are, and how it can be determined what function a behavior is serving. There are three main functions of problem behavior: access, escape, and automatic. One of the main functions of problem behavior is to access attention. Children require, need, and want a lot of attention. Children with challenging behavior are no different in that respect. One way they are different is in the methods they have learned in order to access attention. Children are quick to learn that doing something bad will result in us dropping whatever else we were doing to rush over and give them lots of attention. This is a very quick and efficient way for kids to get attention from adults. Remember, there's no such thing as bad press, so any form of attention can be desirable to a child, including stern looks, reprimands, and even restraint. Additionally, students may attempt to access things they like, tangibles. A child who asks mom for some candy at the store might not get it, but if the child falls on the ground and makes a scene, she might just get that candy because mom wants her to stop making a scene at the grocery store. Sometimes when we deny a child something, she will engage in problem behavior in order to get it. As adults, sometimes giving in and letting her have what she wants is easier, less embarrassing, and less stress. Children are quick to learn that engaging in bad behavior will get them access to that toy they really want, or will get them 5 more minutes at the playground, because we aren't always willing or able to fight that battle with them. The next video clip is an example of a child wanting a tangible item. Sometimes you can just ask a student what they want, and they will tell you.
No iPad. No, what do you want? No iPad.
Mommy's phone.
No.
Lou, what do you want, babe?
I want an iPad.
I need to take the iPad to work. Lucia, Mommy will bring it back, okay? Mama will bring it back, okay? Mama will bring it back, okay? I love you. Have a good day. No, not right now. Lil, Mama will bring the iPad back later, okay? Can I have a hug and kiss goodbye? Sorry, Mama really has to go to work. I'm late. I love you.
A second function of problem behavior is for children to escape or avoid things they don't like or people that they don't like. A child may throw a tantrum to get out of a situation he finds unpleasant. This may happen when a child is placed at a desk with work or asked to do something like help with chores or get ready for bed. A child may even engage in problem behavior in order to get away from a loud or crowded environment. Children are quick to learn that throwing materials will get them out of having to do a work task or screaming will get them pulled out of church or a birthday party they don't want to go. We have all seen or experienced examples of this. We don't want our child to cause a scene in public, so we essentially allow them out of a situation just to get them to stop or to be quiet. Children figure out very quickly, if I don't want to be here or I don't want to do something, I'll just throw a big fuss, and that the adults will then just give up or give in. A lot of times we don't just want to fight the battle. In the short term, it's easier to us to just do it for the child or to move on to something else. However, this can make bad behavior worse in the long run. Again, we have to be cognizant of how our behavior and the consequences we put in place for problem behavior can actually reward behavior and make it more likely that it happens again. Remember, if a child is being successful with his behavior, if it's getting him what he wants, he's not likely to stop it anytime soon. Using this understanding of escape-maintained behaviors, see if you can figure out what the little girl in the next video is trying to escape.
What's the problem? You can't lift that up? No! Come back and try again. You're almost to the sink.
I can't do it.
Oh,
I can't do it.
that looks like it's very heavy. I think you can do it though, Kirsten. I think you can lift it up to the sink and you can help clear the table. I think you can do it. Your big hammy couldn't do it, but you could do it. Oh. Oh. You want to try again? Maybe you take your thumb out of your mouth and move your lubby and you can do it all. Okay, let's go. Put it in the sink. Oh. You did it. It was so heavy.
If you said the little girl was trying to escape the chore of taking her bowl to the sink, you've got it figured out. I would like to comment, the adult response in this video is exactly what we would hope for as a response to any child who is engaging in challenging behavior. The adult, presumably the dad, kept presenting what the expectation was in a calm, cool, collected manner. And so even when the child was getting upset and having all sorts of drama about it, he just continued to repeat the direction with confidence that he knew she could complete the task and maintained a neutral, supportive voice the entire time. Well done, Dad. The final function of problem behavior is automatic reinforcement. This function occurs far less frequently than access or escape, but it is the most difficult to treat. Automatic behaviors serve no socially reinforced function, which means changing adult behavior doesn't work in these situations. Familiar examples of these kinds of behaviors include biting our fingernails, scratching an itch, or smoking. These are behaviors we engage in because we like the internal stimulation or the good feeling that it provides us. We may see these as behaviors in kid population as rocking, hand flapping, or even humming. You'll have a pretty good idea which behaviors serve this automatic function because the child will engage in these behaviors alone, even when others aren't around. He doesn't require anyone else around to deliver a consequence because the reinforcement for that behavior is derived from within. This is why it's the most difficult to treat. Those of you who have ever tried to quit smoking or to stop biting your nails may agree. The trick with automatic reinforcement is to find something that is more reinforcing to the student. It should be noted that automatic functions are rarely seen in developmentally normal kids. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the non-functions of problem behavior. Oftentimes we hear, or maybe have even said ourselves, that a kid behaves the way they do because they're a bad kid, they've got a bad family, or a bad home life. Or we may hear the student wants control, they are off task, or even unmotivated. While the function may not be rational or seem to make sense to others, the behavior serves a purpose for the student. Determining the function is what is important because it gets the entire team on board with the function of the behavior. Determining the function is important because it gets the entire team on board with the function of behavior. It also gives the adults a way to change and impact behavior. In order for everyone to have the same understanding of the behavior of concern, an important step is to define the behavior. If we don't define the behavior clearly and concisely, everyone may have a different understanding or idea of what is going on. This is called operationally defining the behavior. There are 4 components to consider when operationally defining behavior. They are observable. The behavior is an action that can be seen or observed. Measurable. The behavior can be counted or timed. Pass the stranger test. The behavior should be defined so clearly that someone new to the situation can recognize the behavior. And name it. Describe what it looks or sounds like. It may include a non-example of the behavior if it helps. Here are some examples of operationally defined behaviors. On task. Jenny sits quietly during classroom discussions without raising her hand or adding comments for the group. Disruption. John makes noises with his mouth, limbs, or utensils during silent seat work. Is not speaking after being called on. Aggression. Jada strikes other children with her hands. It is not touching others with soft pats or brushing motions. As a way of practicing, your first journal activity is to write 5 definitions. As a way of practicing, your first journal activity is to write 5 operational definitions of behavior. Please stop the video and complete the journal activity as described on slide 36. Please note the notebook icon in the upper left-hand corner. This indicates a journal activity to be completed. Now that you've had some practice with defining the behavior and the what of behavior, we're going to turn our focus to the where of behavior. 4 areas of consideration are given when we look at the where of behavior. The first is setting event. A setting event is a situation or environment that makes the behavior more likely to occur. Antecedent, the event that triggers the behavior. Behavior is the individual's action, and consequence is the result of the behavior. Let's dig into these a little more. An important part of understanding problem behavior involves understanding and recognizing triggers and reactions, or antecedents and consequences. In order to do that, we have to make sure we understand what makes something an antecedent or consequence. We can see how recognizing those things can help us determine the function or reason for the behavior, then how to treat it. Here's an example. A setting event might be carpet time, when all students are at the carpet. The antecedent may be when a student is asked to sit crisscross applesauce and have their voices off. The behavior could be pushes another student and screams loudly, "I don't like him." And the consequence is being removed from the carpet, sitting next to the adult in the back. For a student who wants adult attention, this behavior works very well for them. This slide provides a visual to demonstrate the relationship antecedents and consequences have with behavior. You can see that antecedents occur immediately before a behavior and can set off or trigger problem behavior. Some examples of antecedents to problem behavior might be demands in the form of instructions. You ask your child to get dressed or to sit down, and they fly into a tantrum. Other examples of antecedents for problem behavior include low attention situations. As an example, you have a family member over, or you're on the phone talking to somebody, or as a teacher, if they're paying attention to other students. This may be the exact time a student will do some attention-seeking behavior to force you to direct attention to them. Remember, all kids need a lot of attention, and some just don't know how to ask for it. Another common antecedent to problem behavior is taking something a child likes away from him, telling him he can't have it, or he has to stop doing something fun. These things can serve as antecedents to problem behavior. Other examples may include if a parent being on the phone, being given a hard task, or being told to stop something that is fun. A second variable we have to consider when looking at problem behavior is what is the consequence or reaction to the problem behavior. Consequences are what happen immediately after the problem behavior and are the things the behavior gets them. Consequences greatly affect the likelihood of the behavior occurring again in the future. So if the problem behavior is getting the child what he wants, you can bet he's going to keep doing it because it's successful for him. Some examples of consequences for problem behavior can include a lot of attention in the form of stern looks or scolding, or saying, "No hitting, we don't hit our friends," or "Why did you do that? No throwing books." Another consequence might be removal of a difficult task. If a student crumples up a paper and throws it on the floor and throws a fit, they may get kicked out of class, and therefore the consequence is not having to do the work. Sometimes consequences for bad behavior can include the delivery of things like cookies or toys in an attempt to either distract or just get them to stop the behavior. Sometimes the consequences we deliver for problem behavior in essence teach children that their behavior is effective at getting them what they want. In summary, sometimes the adults are the unintentional problem. The good news is that it's easier to change adult behavior than student behavior. Here is another example of the ABC relationship. Bill has learned that when he is asked by his teacher to get out his math book and begin working, he folds his arms, says no, pushes his book off the desk and swears. He is then sent out of the classroom and does not have to do math. In essence, Bill has learned that he can engage in challenging behavior to escape doing math. This wraps up the information for Competency 5. There are 2 additional journal activities to complete for this competency. The first is to read the function-based thinking article that is included with the handouts for this video. The last journal activity is to use the flowchart found in Figure 3 of the article and practice using the strategy described with an actual student behavior from your work. So to summarize, there are 3 journal activities for Competency 5. The first one is the operational definitions activity as described on slide 36. The second is to read the function-based thinking article that is referenced on slide 42 and is included in the handouts that accompany this video. And the third journal activity is the flowchart activity referenced on slide 42 that is a part of the journal article. Next, Dee will be covering competencies 1 and 2 of Standard 4.
Thanks, Anne. Hi, I'm Dee Blanchard. Now we will be moving on to Competency 1 and 2 of Standard 4. As a reminder, Standard 4 deals with supporting the emotional and behavioral health of the students with which you work. The competencies are to assist in modeling and teaching specific appropriate behaviors, social skills, and procedures that facilitate safety and learning in various environments, and to assist in the implementation of individualized behavior management plans. As a paraeducator, you may be asked to assist with efforts to help students manage and improve their behavior. The learning objectives for these competencies include the following: to teach expectations in a variety of ways, to learn how to recognize teachable moments and provide informal instruction, and to learn the different types of instruction such as social skills, anger management, and coping skills. Building relationships is one of the most important strategies for increasing positive behavior. It's important to work at building a positive relationship with each and every student and be intentional about it. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. This is a video that talks about relationships and support within the schools.
Thumbs up if you understand.
High-impact teachers know that effective classroom management means putting systems in place that empower students and set them up for success. These systems include vision and high expectations, clear procedures, strong relationships and support, engaging instruction, and intervention and redirection. Together, these components contribute to an environment in which all students can succeed.
My goodness, we can get so much learning done, and everybody is just so focused. You can show some really, really good respect for your classmates and support.
With procedures in place, effective teachers invest students in a shared vision by building strong relationships of trust, empathy, and support.
I think relationships are really key to having a successful classroom. The first thing that I did was just to let the kids know that this was a safe, warm, loving place. Try this one. And so that was first week, just building that culture of love and care, and also a system of teamwork. So at the top, I wrote, "Help me fix it," because I really need your help. And you are going to help me.
They need to feel loved and they need to feel wanted in the room. And when they do, they really do turn out the best work.
Being suspicious of me.
Oh, okay. It could be.
I think the question that all kids have is, am I doing a good job? And when they hear an adult, a classmate, somebody in their life saying, yeah, you're doing a good job, got it, that private individual praise, it really gives them a catalyst for what they need to do and keep doing, because it makes them feel good.
Very good. Does it have the same vowel sound as this word? It needs to come from a teacher's heart, and they know when you're being genuine with them and when you're not. Good job. On fire. Very good.
Students who feel supported in the classroom want to succeed and believe that they can.
I need 3 volunteers to go up to the board.
Students will invest in a goal that is meaningful and relevant to their individual lives, cultures, and future selves, and in which they've been given a sense of ownership.
The classroom rules were created by myself and the students. I think that kids are way more invested in following the rules if they had a hand in creating the rules. Can I ask Ms. Burns a question while she's at her table with a group? Silent, yes or no? I already had in mind kind of what I wanted the rules to be, so I guided the conversation in that way. Your eyes are always on Ms. Burns, or they're always on your work.
Giving students jobs in the classroom can give them a lot more ownership over what's happening in the classroom. It messages to them that they are leaders and that they can be leaders.
Pencil collector, please collect my pencils. Table leaders, please go and put the homework folders on each person's table.
Culture building activities allow teachers to promote safe and inclusive environments that support students' social and academic development.
I want you to really think somebody who helped you, or maybe somebody who talked to you when they've never talked to you before or reached out to be a friend. You're going to pass off this candy to them, and then they'll have that extra candy because they were helpful to you this week, or they were kind, or made you feel good. Right?
Here are some ways that you can foster a positive relationship with your students. Smile and greet them by name. Notice something about them. Get to know their likes, dislikes, interests, and talents. Have fun with them. Use humor, but never sarcasm. Let them get to know you. Tell them about yourself. And be empathetic. As Anne mentioned earlier, behavior is learned and serves a specific function. Why is this important? Because this basic assumption means that we can change behavior by teaching the behavior we want or expect. Also, expected behavior can change depending upon the setting. For instance, voice level in the hallway is different than the expected voice level in the lunchroom. We need to be clear about the behavior we expect across settings within the school. We can't assume they know how we want them to behave in every setting. Although expectations used by effective educators may vary from teacher to teacher and school to school, we do not find effectively managed schools and classrooms operating without them. This quote by Evertson and Emmer emphasizes the importance of having expectations to create effective classrooms. Expectations are the broad concepts that describe the behavior that you determine are important for success school-wide. They provide the anchor to bridge the specific rules developed for each setting and helps draw on prior knowledge and helps to generalize behavior. This slide further describes anchored instruction. In reading, you don't teach every PH word. You teach the concept or rule for the sound. That PH makes the F sound, so it can be applied to other PH words. In math, you don't teach every +2 equation. You teach the rule that can be applied. For behavior, you teach the broad concept of respect and what it looks and sounds like in each setting. You operationalize the concepts to apply the behavior in different contexts. Here are some examples of school-wide expectations. Hawk Pride is being responsible, safe, and respectful. This school uses the acronym SOAR to define their expectations. This school calls their expectations their ROAR traits. Here is a secondary example using PRIDE as an acronym. Rules are the specific criteria for achieving expectations. What we identify as rules describe the expected behavior for each setting in objective terms. To enhance the effectiveness of rules, 5 guidelines need to be considered. We call these guidelines the AMPWA guidelines. Rules need to be written in observable terms. Observable means I can see it. Rules also need to be written in measurable terms. Measurable means I can count it. Thirdly, just as we do with school-wide expectations, rules should be positively stated. Positively stated rules encourage the desired behavior. This means telling students what we want them to do. Fourth, rules need to be understandable. Rules are stated so students clearly understand what is meant. Vocabulary should be consistent with the student's grade and/or ability level. For instance, use school-appropriate language might be okay at the middle school level, but perhaps is not understandable for a kindergarten classroom. The last guideline for writing rules is always applicable. Rules should be based on problems which typically occur, and they should not vary or change within the same setting. Here, Mrs. Muttner provides some good non-examples of effective classroom rules. There are too many, they are negatively stated, and they don't tell the students how they should behave. Here is an example of classroom rules that are tied to the school-wide expectation of SAFE. The school-wide expectations provide the anchors for the rules within the setting. The behaviors follow AMPWA guidelines for writing rules. Here is another example of rules that are tied or anchored to school-wide expectations. These are the rules for this PE class. And here's a high school example, tied to the school-wide expectation for being prepared. Here is your first journal activity for competencies 1 and 2. For each statement on the slide, decide if it meets the 5 AMPWA guidelines for writing rules. If not, which guideline or guidelines is missing? Remember, to be considered a rule, a behavior must be observable, measurable, positively stated, understandable, and always applicable. Pause the video now to complete this activity. This slide describes another journal activity that you will complete. Think of 5 problem behaviors that you commonly see or deal with in your school. For example, students are tardy to class. For each behavior, list a replacement behavior, what you want students to do instead. For example, instead of being tardy, we would want students to get to class on time. Next, using the AMPWA guidelines, write a rule for each behavior. The rule for being on time might be stated as, be in your seat when the bell rings. Finally, anchor the rule to an expectation. If your school has developed school-wide expectations, use them. If not, develop an appropriate one. For example, an expectation for being on time to class might be responsible. Pause the video now to complete this journal activity. After defining or developing expectations and rules, we need to teach them to students. Again, you can't assume students know how you want them to behave. You need to teach exactly what you want them to do. Teaching replacement behaviors gives students a more appropriate way to get what they want, to meet the function of their behavior. Use natural occurring opportunities to teach behavior. For instance, teach hallway expectations when you are transitioning from one setting to another. Teach social skills prior to a group activity. Another teachable moment is when a student makes a behavioral error. This is an opportunity to correct by reteaching, not just telling them to stop. In the following slides, we will address several strategies for teaching behavioral and social skills. Direct instruction is an effective strategy for teaching behavior. The steps included in direct instruction are first, introducing the new learning and drawing on prior knowledge and experience. Second, modeling the expected outcome by providing clear expectations and examples. Third, guiding students through initial practice, providing feedback. Fourth, reviewing what was covered. Fifth, providing opportunities for additional practice so students can perform independently. And finally, assessing student success. An easy way to remember the steps are tell, show, practice, give feedback. Tell the student exactly what the rule is, what and how you want them to do something. Show them through modeling and demonstration. Have them practice with guidance and then independently. And give them feedback, positive acknowledgement as well as corrective feedback or reteaching. This slide restates or emphasizes tell, show, practice, and feedback. Modeling and prompting are ways to increase the likelihood that students will demonstrate appropriate behavior. Providing feedback includes acknowledging success. Look for opportunities to see students doing the right thing and let them know you noticed it. Success predicts more success. Research tells us that we can improve behavior by 80% just by pointing out what a person is doing correctly. Yet we use this strategy less than 10% of the time. It is one of the most effective strategies for increasing positive behavior. Providing feedback also means acknowledging errors. Correction really equals reteaching, not just pointing out they didn't do something correctly. Give corrective feedback in some of the following ways listed on the slide, and then end with more positive feedback. Another instructional strategy is called gradual release of responsibility. Here is a model with some key words: model, share, guide, apply, to describe the strategy. In this instructional model, there is a shift from the teacher assuming all of the responsibility for performing a task or skill to a situation in which the students assume all of the responsibility and perform the task or skill independently. The following is a short video clip that further explains the strategy.
Hi, I'm Alex for Teach Like This, and I'd like to start off with one of my favorite teaching strategies, the release of responsibility model. The release of responsibility model is easily remembered with this mnemonic device: show me, help me, let me. This strategy is a scaffolded approach composed of 4 parts. In the first part, the expert, most often the teacher, will demonstrate or model the particular skill they would like to instruct. Learners at this time are actively listening, but not participating in the lesson instruction at all. The demonstrating expert will work through their thought processes out loud. In the next step of the release of responsibility model, the expert will ask for help from the learners in key important parts. The expert is still leading the class, but will stop at key locations to ask for advice from students. In the next step, students are given more responsibility for demonstrating the new skill, but not all of it. Students might use their peers or support from the teacher as he or she circulates the room to solve a problem. The teacher can also use this time to pull kids aside that might need additional instruction. In the final step, students are given all the responsibility for the instruction and are asked to demonstrate the skill independently. It's important to note that this model is not a straight line continuum. The teacher may demonstrate or model their thinking again, or for even a third time in a different way. He or she can provide a new example or go back to a familiar one and ask for help from different students, or a teacher might pair up students differently so students that do understand can help out struggling learners. So that's the release of responsibility model. Show me, help me, let me. If you like this video, please rate and subscribe. If you would like additional information, you can connect with me via Twitter or email or by commenting down below. I'm Alex, and that's Teach Like This.
This handout describes the gradual release of responsibility strategy by outlining the behavior of the teacher and the behavior of the learner. You can download the handout from the resources list on the website where you accessed this video. Video modeling is defined as a visual teaching method that occurs by watching a video of someone modeling a targeted behavior or skill and then imitating the behavior or skill watched. This strategy allows for more frequent and consistent review of a specific skill and is especially good for visual learners. It is often used for teaching social skills. This video shows some examples.
When greeting a friend in the hallway, this is what it would look like.
Hey, Jerica, how are you? Oh, hey, Catherine. I'm good, thanks. How are you? I'm fine.
When greeting a familiar friend, perhaps in the hallway at school, it is appropriate to calmly say, "Hi, how are you?" and wait for your friend's response. Once they have responded, you may reply back. Remember, no butting in when it isn't your turn to speak. After answering a knock at your door, this is what a greeting would look like.
Hi, Catherine. It's so great to see you. Hi, Jerica. It's nice to see you, too.
Once you've opened your door to see who is on the other side, it is a great idea to welcome your friend by saying, "Hi, it is so nice to see you." After you've welcomed your friend, allow them to greet you back. When introducing yourself to someone you don't already know, this is what it would look like.
Hi, my name is Catherine. Nice to meet you. My name is Jerica. Nice to meet you, too.
When introducing yourself to someone you've just met, it is common to say, "Hi," then state your name, followed by, "Nice to meet you." Be sure to listen to the other person to hear their name too. In most situations, a friendly handshake accompanies this encounter. Be sure to have a nice, firm handshake, not too tight and not too wimpy. Now you know how to appropriately greet others in 3 different situations. Good luck, you can do it.
More information about video modeling can be found on the Watch Me Learn website. The link to the site can be accessed under the accompanying resources on the page where you accessed this video. The last instructional strategy that we will be discussing today is the social autopsy. It is defined as a problem-solving strategy designed to support social skills. An adult assists a child in analyzing social errors that he or she makes and designing alternative strategies. The following video clip is a demonstration of how to conduct a social autopsy.
Kiana Turner, and the strategy I will be demonstrating today is a social skills autopsy created by Rick Lavoie. Typically speaking, students with ASD struggle when in social settings. Social skills autopsies are a way for them to analyze their behaviors and discuss ways to more appropriately handle similar scenarios in the future. It is important to remember that a social skills autopsy should be done from an instructional point of view and in a manner that is non-judgmental. Additionally, you want to make sure that you are conducting the social skills autopsy as close to the social error as possible so that students are able to accurately recall the scenario and reflect upon what happens and discuss better ways to handle it in the future. I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Can you tell me what happened today in English class? Okay, so you walked in and there was a sub and she had some characteristics that were a little unusual. Is that correct? And what did you say? You told her she was fat. Okay. Well, why wouldn't that be okay? Why isn't it okay to tell someone that they are fat? Okay. I understand your point. I understand you feel like that she was a little bit overweight, but why might not that be a nice thing to say to someone? You're absolutely right. It could hurt their feelings, right? And we don't want to do that. And I don't think that you were intending to be disrespectful, but maybe that came across a little disrespectfully for you to kind of yell out in the middle of class that she was fat, right? I know you wouldn't like someone to yell out something like that to you, correct? Right. Because it wouldn't feel good, of course. So even though we may notice things about people that are a little bit different, typically speaking, we don't make those kind of comments because it hurts people's feelings, right? So what could you do right now to make that situation better? You're absolutely right. You could go in and apologize to the substitute, correct? All right, so what about next time? What can we do next time if someone has some interesting characteristics that maybe kind of catch our eye? What can we do? Okay. You could think it, keep it in your head and not actually make the comment out loud. That's a very good suggestion. Another thing you could do, maybe it is something interesting that they would want to talk about. Maybe you could quietly ask them about it. If they have an interesting tattoo or something really cute on their shirt, you could say, hey, I like your shirt. Where'd you get that? Or, I like that tattoo. Does it have any meaning? Things like that. But typically speaking, we aren't going to, yell things that can be interpreted as being negative comments in the future, right? So next time when you have a sub, if they have something interesting, or not even just a sub, if you're out in the community and you see someone that kind of looks a little different and maybe has some interesting characteristics, we're going to think our thoughts in our head and not actually have them come out of our mouth. And maybe if it's something like a shirt or a tattoo that maybe you think they would be comfortable to talk about, maybe we can just ask them about it and say, hey, that's a really cool shirt. Where'd you get it? Or something like that, right? Thank you so much for coming in and talking to me today. I know you're going to do a great job with this in the future.
This article has a good explanation of social autopsies. It includes a brief introduction and description of social autopsies, along with the steps to conducting a social autopsy. And it includes an excellent example of a worksheet that you could use to conduct a social autopsy with a student. It also includes a brief example of a social autopsy. You can access this article under the accompanying resources list next to this video. For your next journal activity, think of a student with which you work that demonstrates problem behavior or social skills deficits. Which of the instructional strategies that we have reviewed, direct instruction, gradual release of responsibility, video modeling, or social autopsy, would be most effective for improving his or her behavior? Share your reflections in your journal. Pause the video now to complete this journal activity. Here is a summary of the required journal activities for competencies 1 and 2. The slides with instructions are noted in case you need to refer back to them. In conclusion, setting clear expectations, considering the function of a behavior, and teaching a more appropriate or socially acceptable behavior is critical for improving emotional and behavioral outcomes for kids. As Randy Sprick says, it's not about how to nail them harder, it's about how to teach them better. Here is contact information for Ann and me. Feel free to contact us with any questions you may have. Thank you for joining us today.